until the lion produces its own historian. The story of the hunt will always be told to glorify the hunter. This is the case we now witness with the ongoing Anglophone crisis. We were told when this crisis started that the Bias-led government was inefficient in terms of bringing effective development, social development, political and cultural development to the Anglophone community, that they were inefficient in order to ensure the unity of Cameroon. Reasons why our own brothers and sisters decided to become the historians by launching what they called the Anglophone Civil Society Consortium to advocate for the rights of Anglophones in terms of fighting for an effective change and balanced development within Cameroon and still maintaining the union in what they captioned as a return of a two-state federation. As days went on, things changed and things fell apart. The comfort of those who were advocating for this, they were discomforted, arrested and sent to Yaoundé, and the battle was handed now to the new normal devil that many will call those within the activist realm of the southern Cameroonians. They are now our historian, and now we are now witnessing this history that they are writing for us to read in years and years to come. We are reading history of barbarism, cruelty, brutality, intimidation, arrest, kidnappings left and right. We are now seeing history being written as far as kidnappings of opinion, diversity of opinion is concerned. We are witnessing history still from the side of our brothers who claim they are advocating for us, embezzling money meant to fight for us. We are seeing history as far as you disagree with them in one way or the other. Your name is blackleg. Whether somebody owes you or not, your name is blackleg. Someone just needs to see your land, a piece of land, and just go and report you that you are collaborating with the state actors. The same scenario as far as the state armed group is concerned. We were told that the military is there for people to protect them, to guide them, and to ensure that they live in peace and harmony. In some occasions, you will see that this is applicable, how the military goes around and protects civilians as far as the armed conflict is concerned. As the same situation will go, some members of the same group, you will hear testimony from people telling you stories as far as brutality, intimidation, kidnappings, killing, burnings are concerned, still with the same actors. A situation that is chaotic as far as the common man is concerned. The common man is caught between the devil and the deep blue sea. In Moyuka, that is in Moyuka subdivision, which is chief town of chief town within Moyuka division, we saw a young lady who was brutally killed by the non-state armed groups, and a lot of people brought in hypotheses stating that it was not done by the non-state armed groups, but yet we watched a confession from one of the production of Clear Out, which stated that the fighter confessed that he actually carried out the attack in what is called General Charger. And these are several stories we hear on a daily basis. In Moya, as we speak, a young man was killed by alleged state armed groups who was fighting for the brother to be released. We are listening to stories on left and right as how people are crumbling and grumbling, yet the nation is on the blink as we speak right now. The motion for today is, when the Saviour becomes oppressed, what happened to the common man? As those who claim they are coming to save us both from the state armed groups and the non-state armed groups, as they turned against us, what happens when the common man is caught within this leap? I am Tamai Chavis. I'll be back to introduce to you my guest. This is House of Commons. You're welcome back from that transition. Thanks for joining us. We want to apologize for the late start of today's program, and we'll kickstart today's edition by introducing to you my guest. I'll begin with you, Alex Ngepi. He is a member of the Cameroon's Renaissance Movement, captioned CRM. You're welcome to the program, Alex. Bienvenue.
Merci, bienvenue et bonjour millions de personnes qui nous suivent en ce jour.
Bonjour, comment passer la journée?
Bien.
Thank you very much, Alex. And of course, we have Baku Jut, who is a peace journalist and someone who is well versed in terms of understanding the dynamics of the conflict as far as it all started in 2016 until now. He's been keeping a track record and understanding why certain things happened as far as peace journalism is concerned. Bakuju, thanks for joining us.
I'm indeed delighted to be here, Jervis. Though with tears in my eyes, we've been trying for about 3-4 years today, and we've been looking forward to God for a solution out of this brouhaha which we find ourselves. And yet, every other day when we mount this panel, we keep hoping that we'll educate our people, we'll talk to people to come to reason. So basically, I want to wish them a happy Sunday, wherever you are, in tears like I am, be it in those restive areas or wherever in this part of the world. We hope that whatever we discuss here today will go a long way to enrich our mindsets, enrich our souls, so that we can have some peace again, and our people can just live again. It's been a long while of suffering, and today is Sunday. Many of them have been to church. Many people have been to church today. We hope that the Almighty God will pass through your hearts, through your soft hearts, so that we can, all of us, chart a way forward out of this serious situation we find ourselves.
Thank you very much. I don't know if True Waters is there, a member of the PAP, who is joining us live in Yaoundé. True Waters, thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon to all of you out there in the studio. I don't know whether you are getting me 5 on 5.
We are getting you live 5 on 5.
Yeah, good afternoon to all of you out there in the studio, and happy Sunday to the listeners of my major prime. We are in Yaoundé and we are happy. I'm happy to hook up with my major prime for the Prime Hour program this afternoon, and I think that I will contribute, and my opinion will count so much for the development of the country, because we are living in an arena where people are slaughtered, and there are beheadings, and there is no value for human life again. I believe that you have associated the Popular Action Party to the Prime Hour program this afternoon, because you know that our opinion counts, and we are to develop and grow Cameroon and bring back peace in the Northwest and in the Southwest. Thank you very much for the invitation. It's my pleasure to be part of the program.
Thank you very much. I think we kickstart today's edition with you, Bakuju, before coming to the other members of the panel. We've witnessed stories about embezzlement for those who claim they want to advocate for the people of the West Cameroon. And if you see, we read stories as far as the embezzlement of my trip to where is concerned, and we've seen stories that 17 million CFA francs published by Table Post newspaper, and of course Table Post website, published equally by a credible source in the Phenomenal magazine, which shows that Sako IG, who in the course of the program we will see, we'll discuss that, was caught with 17 million.
Jervis, the Sako-led IG. Let's dive into the camp of the separatists a bit before we come to generalized issues. When the crisis started, we had the IG that was led by the Seseku, and excuse me, when Seseku was arrested, Sako was the one appointed. Sako came up, and we were hoping that now this other man is in prison, every effort will be made so that the person in the prison will be brought to the table for dialogue to take place. It was very, it was shocking for many people to understand that the new guys who took over the struggle for the separatist camp, they rather went to a length which has created a lot of chaos and mistrust over the competence of the people who are handling this issue. And Sako, who is in the USA, has worked in tandem with Chris Anu, who have been marred with serious scandals.
Yeah, embezzlement scandals.
Embezzlement scandals as far as the funds that these separatists contribute to fund their war is concerned. Now, what I've been expecting, like I said, these people are Anglophones. They are people from this part of the country who should at least have some sympathy over their people back home. Now, we've realized that the people they fight against, that's the BR-led regime in Cameroon, they were fighting. They said they're fighting marginalization. They're fighting embezzlement, corruption,
and
brutality, and all that you can mention as far as a rook regime, which they call, is concerned. But within 2018 or so, that they launched the so-called My Trip to Boya, and we heard that more than, in fact, hundreds of thousands of US dollars have been contributed towards that fund. At one point, we heard that the money which they contributed to fund their activities had again been embezzled by the people who are fighting embezzlement. You see, Sako is one person with Chris Anu on his side. They formed a very strong tag team because they controlled a bulk now of the separatist movement. So these guys, their report, you are talking about the 70 million.
70 million alongside with building materials that has homes that is constructed around Cameroun.
These are issues of maybe yesterday or last week. Sako and his group, we've gotten reports on them from their own in-house people, like the Mark Baratas, like the Eric Tatos, and most of them who are fighting. They have got Akwanga. We've got a report of them embezzling huge chunks of US dollars of the same money. That's why you see the camp of the separatists is weakening, because most of those who used to contribute into their fund, they are retracting this time around.
Fatigue.
Yes. At one point we heard that Sako had embezzled more than 100 and something thousand US dollars. This money was meant to fund their activities. So you see, the most disgraceful part of this is that these are people fighting all these ills of the BR regime.
Okay.
And let me be honest with you, these guys are going nowhere with such malpractices. We have an Anglophone community in the diaspora that was supposed to be exemplary. They have rather turned out to be the worst form of fighter of so-called liberators that we see. Anglophone diaspora, when I was growing up like you, we used to know that people who grew up in the US, people who grew up in Europe, in Germany, Russia, those people were in places where we have at least some kind of democratic institutions, at least we have intellectuals, intelligentsias, we have people who have got up to a certain level of education. We're expecting a lot from our diaspora. You know, when they came up, we're expecting that there should be some sanity in the liberation struggle from abroad. On the contrary, what we have seen today is a confused group of individuals
who are more focused on money.
And you understand that at one point of this struggle, they told us about a Swiss-led talk. The Swiss talk was supposed to prosper, but for the huge appetite for wealth, for money, which bedeviled their camps. Everybody, Bo Herbert will say this, no, I'm not coming here. Akwanga will say, no, okay, this is here.
But we'll come back to you. I think we'll come back to you. Let's get to Alex. Alex, I'll pose a question in English. My French is not that good enough. Alex, we were told that these were people who say they are fighting for Anglophones. First, it was a movement that said they want better living conditions for Anglophone in a unified Cameroon. And now, we've seen reports, some of us who have been to the field, I've been to the field in the southwest region and northwest region as a journalist on several occasions, and we've seen reports where these same people have embezzled. A case in hand is that of the so-called IG Sako, who have embezzled this whose brother was caught by the same separatist group with 17 million and building materials worth hundreds of thousands, and is alleged that he's building a house still along Boyakumba Road.
Oui, il faut dire, tout ce que vous décrivez là, c'est dans les communes de la guerre. Hein. on va résumer ça comme ça, que toutes ces actions qui se passent aujourd'hui, c'est qu'il y a des forces endogènes et exogènes qui sont en train de s'enrichir au travers de cette guerre-là. Donc c'est une économie de la guerre. Quand on va dire que ceux qui étaient des sauveurs d'hier deviennent des bourreaux d'aujourd'hui, tout cela, il faudrait comprendre que c'est l'économie de la guerre. On aura beau expliquer par 1000 façons, ça entre dans l'économie de la guerre. Des personnes qui sont des Amazoniens qui veulent tirer profit de la guerre, des personnes aussi qui sont de l'autre côté du camp gouvernemental qui veulent tirer profit de la guerre, parce qu'il ne faudrait pas qu'on fasse comme c'est l'économie de la guerre ou comme c'est les sauveurs d'hier n'étaient que les Amazoniens. Non, les sauveurs d'hier, aux yeux des populations, c'était les Amazoniens. En même temps aussi, l'armée qu'on envoie sur place aussi est aussi vu comme des sauveurs. Et tous les deux camps commettent des exactions. Tous les deux camps ont l'économie de la guerre parallèle. C'est de ça qu'il est question. Donc, je ne voudrais pas juste atteindre mon commentaire sur un seul camp, en dénonçant des sommes perçues, en dénonçant une économie qui serait en train de circuler, sans voir que nous sommes en termes de guerre. Il y a ce qu'on appelle légèrement la DGR, la doctrine de grave révolutionnaire, qui a été mise sur pied dans les pays anglo-saxons dans les années 1945, lorsqu'on était dans le cadre de la guerre d'Indochine, et cela se répertoriait jusqu'à la guerre algérienne, dans les années 1954, et quand en 1962 la guerre algérienne a pris fin, la guerre d'Algérie a pris fin, bon, on a poursuivi cela avec la guerre du Cameroun. C'est-à-dire qu'au Cameroun, il y avait déjà la guerre qu'on appelle le maquis, mais c'est une guerre qui a commencé entre 1950 et qui a pris fin en 1970 avec la victoire des Français. Donc, dans cette doctrine grave de révolutionnaire, c'est que on veut faire, on met sur pied des éléments qui visent à déplacer les conflits, c'est-à-dire le thème guerre vers, dans le cadre de la colonisation, c'était plutôt des guerres tribales. C'est-à-dire, on a démontré que la guerre du Cameroun était une guerre tribale. Dans le cadre de la crise anglophone, cela continue. C'est-à-dire, on veut déplacer les revendications politiques de cette crise-là vers des terrains tribaux, en même temps aussi vers des terrains même pas sessionnistes, vers des terrains des personnes qui seraient dans un agenda caché de vouloir nuire aux populations. Non. Donc il y a une alchimie en fait, il y a une intelligence qui se passe, surtout du côté des stratèges. C'est-à-dire, on oublie la revendication première, qui est une revendication politique, et on veut aujourd'hui donner une autre allure à cette guerre par le tribalisme.
Okay, let me ask you the main question now. As far as this is concerned, we have seen the government of Cameroon. You are a member of the CRM party. We have seen the government of Cameroon from 2016 says they are fighting for the interests of Cameroonian, and they want that the interest should be on unitary state and on decentralization. But 4 years on, we have seen cases where human rights reports of military brutality, local human rights reports from right groups in Cameroon of military burning of homes, and confessions of people in the Anglophone region of military burning of homes. But these are people whom the government says are saviors, that are coming to save the people from North and Southwest region from the hands of what the government call terrorists.
Oui, c'est ça que je dis, ce sont des stratégies qui sont mises sur pied. C'est-à-dire, au départ, l'État du Cameroun, le gouvernement camerounais, ici, avec son ami, est allé au Nozo pour le rôle de l'unité nationale, que aucun centimètre du Cameroun ne peut être dissous. Ils sont là-bas pour combattre les sécessionnistes. Donc, ils sont allés pour l'international. Ça, c'est tout le sauveur de républicain, d'Afrique du Cameroun. Voilà en quoi est-ce que le gouvernement s'est érigé. Maintenant, les Amazoniens aussi se sont plantés aux populations comme étant des sauveurs, de ceux-là qui sont là pour sauver le peuple anglophone face aux abus des francophones, face à la prééminence du gouvernement francophone et consort. Donc, tous les deux camps ont justifié une guerre. Quelqu'un qui va aller en guerre trouve toujours une justification, qu'elle soit légale ou pas, on a toujours une raison pour aller en guerre. Et je suis en train de faire comprendre qu'aujourd'hui, on est en train de quitter de la véritable sur cette guerre, qui sont des revendications politiques, et on crée d'autres revendications. Par exemple, vous allez vous rendre compte de quelque chose de très simple. Quand il y a deux formes de crimes que les Français ont eu à mettre en Afrique. C'est-à-dire, quand ils étaient au Cameroun, lorsqu'ils ont commencé à faire la guerre du maquis, ils ont fait ce qu'on appelle le crime institutionnalisé, le bon crime, le mauvais crime. Le bon crime, c'était qu'on vous met là, on vous tue avec les armes. Là, c'est normal, on dit non, c'est pas moral, c'est acceptable. Le mauvais crime, le massacre, l'autre massacre barbare, parce qu'il y avait le massacre des gens intelligents, comme vous tuez les armes conventionnelles avec Kanikov, avec grenades, c'était normal. L'autre massacre, c'était lorsque vous tuez les machettes. Vous comprenez un peu. Donc, est-ce que vous dites que d'un côté, l'armée ne veut pas, il tue des ambazoniens, d'autres camps de la guerre, ils disent tuer avec des armes, qui pour eux paraîtraient être moins douloureuses, qui seraient normales. Les ambazoniens vont riposter avec les armes ou avec les machettes, qui pour eux, mais tout ça sont des crimes. Que ce soit des crimes à la machette, que ce soit des crimes avec les armes, est-il tout dit que les gens succombent. Donc, vous allez donc voir que quand on a diffusé une des vidéos dans laquelle on montre les gens en train d'égorger une dame, ce qui est un crime crapuleux, que nous ne pouvons pas tolérer au sein du MRC. Parallèlement aussi, dans la guerre de communication, pour le déplacement des intérêts de la guerre, on montre aussi l'armée en train de tuer quelqu'un qui tire cette personne-là à des centaines de kilomètres. Vous avez vu que lorsque la première vidéo a fuité, le gouvernement camerounais a vite fait de réagir, n'est-ce pas? Ils ont posé un communiqué en condamnant, en faisant croire aux populations que cette vidéo-là serait la plus atroce. Mais ils n'ont pas réagi lorsqu'on a tué des gens en Gabou. Attends, ça dit qu'en Gabou, non, j'arrive, permettez-moi, je vais juste expliquer quelque chose. Lorsqu'en Gabou, on a eu à tuer les populations de Gabou par des moyens toujours qu'ils ont estimé qui étaient acceptables. Ils n'ont pas dû réagir, ils ont dit non, c'était pas l'armée qu'on sort. Lorsqu'au nord du Cameroun, l'armée va tirer sur une femme à dos. Maintenant, parlons aussi, lorsque ces Amazoniens ont fait fuiter une vidéo de l'armée, où on voit aussi les militaires qui tirent un monsieur, et qui là-bas, tout de suite, ils ne tâtent pas réagir. C'est-à-dire, on veut faire croire aux Camerounais qu'il y a qu'en guerre, il y a un type, une façon de tuer qui serait acceptable. Donc, voilà pourquoi nous avons dit au MRC que cette guerre ne devrait pas avoir lieu. Parce que tout ce qu'on a de décrire aujourd'hui sont les conséquences de la guerre, de cette sale guerre-là. Qu'elle soit l'économie parallèle de la guerre, qu'elle soit la façon de tuer, et c'est toujours dit que nous, au MSC, nous disons que cette guerre devrait cesser. Parce que vous voulez être d'accord avec ceux qui tuent en machette, ou d'accord avec ceux qui tuent avec les armes, et les gens sont tués, et c'est toujours le même crime.
We are coming to you now. Two Waters, are you there?
Yes, I'm 5 on 5.
Now, I'll ask you the same question that I asked other members before moving to the main subject of today, because the main subject of today is when the Saviour becomes the oppressor. Can the common man survive? But first, we've seen reports and we've had evidences that the Sako IG brother was caught with 17 million CFA francs and with some building materials by the same separatists themselves. And we saw Eric Tato posted that, and not just Eric Tato, we already saw other platforms publish that. We've had issues of my trip to Boya, and these are the same people who say they want to come and save Anglophones.
Yeah, let's say that there is what we call economics of war, where people make money using the war that is going on, and some other people use blood to fill in their tankers, and they use them for ritual purposes. Well, you know that there are so many fractions of these groups that are created and led by separatist leaders abroad. You've just cited a whole lot of them names. I don't want to call names here for fear of being discriminatory or maybe propagating or advertising some groups, but I know that the separatist leaders abroad have different fractions of groups on ground zero, where they launch a collection fund in their TV. I hope that all of us know the SCBC TV, the Southern Cameroon Broadcasting Corporation, where they launch, and each division has its own group name, and they has a chair lady or a chairman, has a treasurer, somebody is a tax collector. When you leave the northwest, when you go to the northwest or the southwest, or when you go to southern Cameroon, the former British of southern Cameroon, you discover that you have to pay some tax. That money, maybe there is a collector on the ground, or maybe a separatist leader abroad where they have created an account, and money is being collected in so many countries abroad. And when the money is dropped, the aim is to buy arms and ammunition and send them to ground zero in order to restore the former state of British Southern Cameroon. Well, if money is caught, or maybe arms not bought, is not the point of focus. It's not really helping us in any way. What we want now is that we should put pressure on United Nations organization on Cameroon to make a ceasefire happen in the northwest and the southwest, because power and money is what has divided these groups until you see one Amber camp attacking another Amber camp because of what? Money and power. I don't want to go deeper into fighting of money and power on ground zero, on separatist fighters and fighters on ground zero, but I want to say that these are things that happen normally when war is going on. We are rather focusing on the consequences of the Anglophone crisis rather than focusing on the causes. Because we might
let me ask you, True Waters, are you saying that embezzling money under the pretext that you want to come and save the same people is justifiable because of the economy of war?
It happens everywhere in the world.
So it's
not the first time where war
is
going on and people are making money. I'm not justifying. I'm saying that we should instead stop all those atrocities and hostilities and go on negotiation, because it will always be happening whether we say or not. We know people that have been kidnapped and killed in the northwest and the southwest because they collected money and they don't do what the Amber fighters want.
Okay, let me get this clarification from the PAP. Let me get this clarification. You say you want to fight, not you per se, but I'm just giving an example. You say you want to fight embezzlement, you want to fight corruption, you want to fight brutality, or you want to fight balanced development within the Anglophones. Now, the same thing you want to fight, you are the ones spearheading this, and there are scores of people who are in prison today because they joined the movement, and the same movement they joined, you have embezzled the money, or you are using the money, and you are pushing the vulnerable to pick up them guns and the same money that you promised to give them. The common manner is not caught between this web because of the activities of your embezzlement activity, and you say it's not my war. I don't know. Are we missing something?
I'm just doing what we call a global analysis that during war such things are bound to happen. How can we stop them? During war such things are bound to happen. We of the Popular Action Party condemns the act, but know that it is a structural way of getting a means so as to fight back the enemy, as they call it, the La République du Cameroun. And you know that when this thing started, they were not carrying the damn guns. They went on peacefully on the street, and the government used tear gas and light bullet on them before they went on now on kidnapping to take ransom. Those are just what we call a procedure, a mechanism of a separatist group. Even in the days of the Biafra war in Nigeria, we saw them. So those are just the mechanism, the modus operandi of a separatist group: kidnap and take ransom, collect money from abroad, get guns and fight back the enemy. I am not justifying the reason that they should do that. Embezzlement or not, it is a governance within the separatist group that I don't want to go into. They know what they are doing, but we are condemning the act, and we say that we should address the fundamental problems and go on negotiation.
Thank you. Let's now dive straight to the topic of today. I think we have touched it somehow passively. Bakujut, you are a peace journalist. I think let's get this clear. From the past almost a week now, we've seen scores of brutality at both ends. We saw in a video that emerged on social media in Pini, allegedly from Pini, where soldiers, purported soldiers from the Cameroon State Armed Groups dressed in military gears, and you could hear them speaking in French, pulling the young man who had been shot, who presumably was half dead or dead, because we cannot independently verify whether at the moment he was dead or not. Being shot again at close range, being pulled, mocked, and we know that the International Convention of War on the respect of dead bodies must be protected. We have not seen condemnation from people. People seem not to condemn the act, but we are not saying that people should not condemn the act in Moyuka.
Jevis, this question has prompted me to talk on something. With Mr. Cho just mentioned something there that it's a global style when you have those ears in the warfare. It's pushing me back to something. When we're discussing here, like I said earlier, we're struggling to educate these people, especially the warring parties, the belligerents of the crisis. to understand their responsibilities as far as war is concerned, be it in the asymmetric kind of warfare or in a very conventional kind of warfare, which should be the case. We are not the first people to fight wars, and it's true that ugly things do set up in situations of war. But people have fought wars over the years. Over the years, wars have been fought, and after careful examination, we even had the First and the Second World War. After all this careful examination, we've come to a realization that wars now have their ethics that everyone must follow. And that comes now to the international humanitarian laws, which we believe that anyone who intends to engage into any act of war, you must be able to be conversant with that act, the international humanitarian war, the rules of war. Okay? If any party is getting into war and you don't know the rules of war, please, you are on the wrong side of history. The modern days international humanitarian law or the rules of war, like I have to take you back a bit. In 1864, when we had the first Geneva Conference, the first Geneva Convention, it was to talk and deliberate on the first rules that have to do with when wars are involved. It's after the First World War and the Second World War that we had the second, the third, and then the fourth 1949 Geneva Convention that has set out specificities of wars, and everyone involved in the structure, in the chain, you have your own set of rules which you have to follow. You don't just go to a warfare and you kill at will. Everyone, nobody has. Wars have limits. The new rules on wars have limits, and that is why we always want to refer people to go back to the 1949 Geneva Convention. It's the fourth. The first convention had to do with the way soldiers are manhandled on the field, because the history of this has to do with this guy, this Swiss business guy who went to Italy and realized that on the field, soldiers who were brutally shot, some who were limping, they were suffering, because it's not everybody. When you meet somebody on the war front and that person is incapacitated, that person is not able to fight again, that person has every right. You capture a person, has every right to enjoy freedom. You can capture that person and treat the human. That's to restore humanity and dignity.
So you are saying,
upon the human being.
I get what you are saying, that if the Cameroon security forces meet a non-state armed group at a point where he or she cannot fight
again,
yes, or he or she surrenders when you meet them in their camp, you don't have a right.
You don't
to kill.
You don't. Those laws are covered by the first Geneva Convention. The second one has to do with the ship, has to do with marine fighting. I don't want to go into that. And the third now has to come back with this issue of prisoners of war.
POW.
POW. When you arrest these amber guys on the field, some of them went there with drugs at the back of their mind. Some of them were civilians who were misled. Some of them may have had one or two things radicalized that pushed them to the war. Now, when you're fighting and you're on the war front, if you realize that somebody cannot fight again, it's the responsibility of you as a trained military group, which you must have been well tutored on the laws of war, not to harm that person. On the cases you're citing, unfortunately, we are in a jungle where people just fight anyhow, and they are calling on the international community to intervene without even keeping into the deal of what the international community has set as standard for war. You are not supposed to harm prisoners of war. They have the right. You have supposed to arrest them, take them to jail. Then they have access to. It's humanitarian. It's just what you're supposed to do, because wars have limit. Don't just go. I've talked to some separatists bitterly. I've caught them on phone, on social media, where some of them are. I've told them on several accounts, wars have limit. You have to read some of these things through the line if you must engage into war. You cannot just at every point you say, okay, we are at war. Even at war, there are rules you have to follow to restore humanity. The fourth Geneva Conference comes now to this mass killing of civilians who become the target. When the Saviour becomes the
oppressor,
the common man, that is the common man. From the First World War to the Second World War, we had more than 50 million people across the globe who lost their lives. And it is from this backdrop that the international community was very, in fact, 3 more protocols were incorporated into the international humanitarian laws. That which you must not, the last one, stress more on civilians. Why you must not touch civilians when you are fighting? You have every right as a state military to protect civilians to the brim. Those the combatants, on the other hand, you have a responsibility on your head to make sure that you don't go into places where civilian casualties is at stake. These things are not we don't fabricate them.
Okay.
The problem is that we are not the first to fight, but we don't know what we are fighting. We don't know how to fight, and we are in the jungle, Africa, sadly. Because if we go back to these conventions, that's why at the end of the day you see people paying at the level of the criminal justice, international criminal court. Yes, tribunals will have to judge people because they are violating many of these rules. You cannot use a machete on a civilian, you record and film. That's totally inhumane, against the international the international humanitarian laws. It's not whether we are at war or the benefits or economics of war or whatever. Those rules are there. We must stick to them. What the government should be doing now is educating its populace. I'm saying this because these are things they are neglecting. They have to be educating the population on what their responsibility is, educating their military agents on what they should be doing on the ground. On the other hand, the so-called well-learned intellectual guys in the diaspora, who are supposed to have a good knowledge of these laws, should be telling their combatants on the ground, on ground zero, that you don't have any mandate to harm a military man you arrest. You are not supposed to chop up the head of a military man just because you have successfully when you capture the person, it is your right to keep that person.
Okay.
So,
in summary,
just to summarize it, or I want to really say that it's a moment where we have to educate people on these laws, international humanitarian laws, where they are breaching the laws, the fighters on ground, the people who call the shot from the diaspora, as well as government need to be taking responsibility. Any of those acts that your military kill, shoot people, record and send out there, those are acts that are recorded, and every regime is supposed to pay for such acts.
Okay, thank you. Mean that both sides will have to pay.
Of course.
Alex Ngepi, I'll ask you the same question. We've seen the girl who was brutally killed by the separatists, not alleged again, in Oyuka. After that, 24 hours, we saw a video of Cameroon military, alleged Cameroon military officials in headgear, Cameroon headgear, pulling a civilian on the floor, mocking at his body, shooting again at him for over, I think it's a 2-minute video. But we have not seen people condemning that act. But we've seen people condemning just the one for the separatists. Both lives matter, don't they?
Mais il faut dire qu'il y a une guerre psychologique. Il y a une guerre psychologique qui ne prend jamais fin. Et le gouvernement, l'ordre établi en place, est en train de gagner cette guerre psychologique-là. C'est-à-dire, l'ordre en place réussit à mettre sur pied ou à montrer les crimes commis par les ambazoniens, qui sont des crimes crapuleux, parce que tuer quelqu'un à machette, c'est un crime extrêmement crapuleux, c'est un crime qu'en tant que Bantou, nous condamnons fermement. Donc, l'ordre en place a réussi à émouvoir les populations, les consciences, la conscience nationale, en faisant croire aux gens que le fait qu'on puisse être tué avec une machette serait intolérable. C'est intolérable, comme tout crime par ailleurs. Donc, il est très facile comme vous avez dit tout à l'heure, je suis d'accord avec vous, de parler du traité de Genève sur le droit des prisonniers, le droit de guerre et le droit des prisonniers, qui dit comment est-ce que quand une personne est arrêtée, on devrait respecter ses droits, il doit être enfermé, faire état d'échange entre prisonniers et consorts, tout ça. Mais seulement cela marcherait bien pour des guerres conventionnelles entre deux États. Ici, nous sommes dans une guérilla, nous sommes dans une guerre endogène. On ne peut même pas parler de guerre, parce que quand on est dans un État, on peut parler de révolte une révolte d'un fragment de population. Parce que l'expression guerre voudrait dire qu'on est en guerre contre un ennemi extérieur. Mais quand ça touche les personnes d'un même État, normalement c'est l'expression révolte qui devrait être peut-être employée. Et comme l'État camerounais, bien le gouvernement camerounais ne voudrait pas qu'on parle de révolte, parce que la révolte va amener les gens à comprendre le caractère politique de cette guerre-là. Parce qu'on dit révolte, sur le sujet on va comprendre, une révolte a un lien politique. Alors, comme ils ne veulent pas, ils font un déni du lien politique de la crise anglophone. On préfère donc parler de guerre ou...
But I understand your party condemned the killing of the young girl in Moyuka.
Nous avons...
But I have not seen your party also condemning the killing of this young man.
Nous avons toujours condamné les crimes de l'armée camerounaise et les crimes des Amazoniens. Si bien que le MRC est en proie de devenir le parti ennemi le parti ennemi de l'armée, c'est-à-dire que le MRC devient un parti non grata pour l'armée camerounaise, un parti non grata pour les forces de défense et sécuritaire, un parti non grata pour l'administration. Voilà la vérité, parce que nous condamnons tout. Nous disons que cette fille qui est morte de par la machette, que nous condamnons fermement, que ce soit celui qu'on a tué et qu'on a tiré à bout portant, tous les deux ont violé les textes de Genève. Il faudrait qu'on le dise clairement. C'est-à-dire que toutes ces deux personnes, si on parle de guerre, c'était sont été violées. Donc l'ordre gouvernemental établi aurait déjà dû condamner ce qui s'est passé avec ces militaires, ces soldats. On devrait déjà faire appel à leur responsabilité pénale en leur mettant aux arrêts et en leur présentant devant le tribunal militaire tel que la loi camerounaise sur cette question le prévoit. Et on devrait par la suite établir les responsabilités politiques. Parce qu'au Cameroun, en situation de guerre comme celui-là, on aime très bien parler de la responsabilité pénale de celui qui tire. Mais on oublie les commanditaires en cravate qui sont dans les bureaux. Que ce soit du côté amazonien ou du côté du gouvernement. C'est-à-dire, on a le gouvernement camerounais qui a des ministres, des gens qui sont dans leur bureau à Yaoundé, et qui donne l'ordre à l'armée d'aller commettre ces exactions, ou qui demande à l'armée de descendre et de faire cela. On a aussi donc des Amazoniens qui sont du côté des États-Unis et consorts, qui sont aussi en cravate comme eux et qui font le même boulot. Donc on a des stratèges militaires camerounais qui sont à Yaoundé, on a des stratèges de la guérilla amazonienne qui sont à l'extérieur. Donc il ne faudrait pas qu'on fait croire à l'opinion nationale que c'est juste ceux qui sont là-bas qu'on doit arrêter. Non, nous, à MS, nous disons, au même titre qu'on devrait poursuivre ceux qui sont à l'extérieur pour cette sale guerre, au même titre, on doit aussi s'interroger sur la responsabilité politique de ceux qui ont demandé que l'armée aille dans cette zone. Est-ce qu'on ne peut pas éviter cette guerre? Donc ceux qui ont pris sur eux de penser qu'il fallait qu'on le résolve par la force, par les armes, doivent répondre de manière politique et de manière même pénale. Parce que lorsque vous mettez sur pied une action politique et qui se retrouve être en contradiction avec les attentes des populations, vous devez répondre politiquement et pénalement. Voilà pourquoi est-ce que dans le contrôle démocratique, le MS est un parti social-libéral dont nous prenons pour la démocratie, nous pensons en tant des démocrates, en tant des libéraux, des social-libéraux, nous pensons que lorsque la responsabilité politique est remise en cause, on devrait donc tout faire pour que les mandats de ces personnes soient écoutés. S'ils sont des élus, c'est-à-dire que si quelqu'un est élu et qui a pris sur lui de demander à l'armée camerounaise républicaine, qui devrait être républicaine d'après la moralité de la chose d'un pays, alors cette armée-là, si un civil, parce que l'armée est placée sous le commandement d'un civil, un civil, notamment le président public, M. Biapol, qui a donc déclaré la guerre aux Amazoniens sans avoir eu à prendre, à mettre sur pied les voies et moyens politiques. Lorsque cette armée qui est envoyée par un civil dans ces zones commet des exactions, on devrait reconnaître que cette armée n'avait rien à faire là-bas, au même titre que les Amazoniens n'avaient aussi rien à faire là-bas. Donc on devrait donc, à ce titre-là, tout faire pour écouter son mandat. Dire, Monsieur le Président de la République, vous avez échoué. Envoyez les gens au sud-ouest. Mais cette guerre n'était pas la bonne chose. Nous pensons qu'on devrait résoudre par la paix, par le dialogue, par les voies et moyens politiques. Voilà la question. Donc, nous attendons. Le MRC comme nous avons toujours eu. D'ailleurs, le MSA condamné, vous n'avez pas cela, je vais vous envoyer.
No, I'm talking about the pulling of the young man by alleged military officers.
Le MSA condamné, nous avons le communiqué, vous n'avez pas le communiqué hier, vous n'avez pas reçu le communiqué, nous avons le communiqué hier.
It's good you sent it to us too.
Je vais vous envoyer ce communiqué-là. D'ailleurs, même quand le MSOC a aussi eu à faire la condamnation de cette jeune dame égorgée, le MRC a aussi par là rappelé aussi que les militaires quand même font le même travail et qu'il faut tout arrêter. Si je prends même la première condamnation que le MRC a faite sur les dames égorgées, le MRC, par la voix du président, le professeur Maurice Kamto, a également rappelé que l'armée faisait cela et qu'il fallait tirer les conséquences et les responsabilités. Bon, comme disons, cette guerre de nos eaux n'a pas lieu d'être. Nous aurons beau expliquer toutes les stratégies pour cette guerre-là. Nous aurons beau prendre 1, 2, 3 heures. La vérité est-ce que pour résoudre la crise anglophone, fallait-il passer par les armes? Nous pensons non. Parce que nous pensons que cette crise anglophone-là, c'est un problème. Le frère qui parle anglais, qui ont la culture anglo-saxonne, ont cela depuis 1917. Ça fait aujourd'hui 103 ans. Donc, il ne faudrait pas qu'on pense même que parler anglais veut dire la culture anglophone. Non. Ça fait 103 ans. Comme nous aussi parlons français. Nous avons aussi la culture germano-romaine, ça fait 103 ans. Donc, lorsqu'on veut donc résoudre un tel conflit, on doit même se référer à l'histoire et chercher donc à trouver une identité camerounaise propre, à résoudre par un dialogue sans qu'une culture, ni francophone, ni anglophone. Cette guerre de nos eaux n'a pas lieu d'être. Le MRC appelle encore par une résolution pacifique.
Let's get to Waters. Waters, are you there?
Yes, 5 on 5.
Okay, I ask you the same question, Waters. We are witnessing a different scenario as far as this conflict is concerned. We've seen everybody condemning the brutality of Comfort, who was killed in Moyuka. We've not seen your party condemning that of the young man who was seen in a video 24 hours after Florence video surfaces on internet. 48 hours being pulled by men in Cameroon's military attire, which we cannot authentically verify that. We have not seen your party and a lot of civil society members condemning the act. Is it just the fact that the lives of women matter more than the life of men, or the life of that young man equally doesn't matter as far as your party is concerned?
I did not want to interrupt you when you were lamenting that you have not seen our recent press release for being dishonest on your program House of Commons. Let me tell you that we have already made a release. We made a release last week on the 13th. That's on the 13th of August 2020. Our recent press release statement condemning the recent upsurge in the killings of the vulnerable civilian population in the English-speaking regions of Cameroon, or better still, the former state of British Southern Cameroon. Our recent release has just about 3 paragraphs. The first paragraph, we are appealing and saying that the gruesome images and videos circulating on social media about the slaughtering and beheading of human beings in the northwest and the southwest makes us to call on the separatist leaders abroad, the fighters on ground zero, the state military who are perpetrating these acts in the north and the southwest, and the Cameroon government, and Mr. Biya to take his full responsibility and address the issues on a negotiating table and ask the UN to put a pressure on the Cameroon government. So the PAP calls now on Mr. Biya to assume his full responsibility, so that the military, as he the leader of the military in Cameroon, to accept a genuine ceasefire in the northwest and the southwest for peace talks to begin in a negotiating table with the separatist leaders, fighters on ground zero, and a neutral body. We remember
I summarize my question to you, Waters. I saw your party videos of your party members condemning the killing of Comfort. From a video, I saw Fabrice Lena, I saw the other man who condemned the act who was on my panel last week. I saw a series of videos. They have not seen a video surfaces as far as condemning the act of this young man being put by alleged men and women of military hard gear, supposedly Cameroon military, shot at close range even after being put on the floor. Let's be specific here.
Maybe I think that we removed, our release was documented, and if you want a video, it is on process and the days ahead. I hope it's going to be channeled to a level of the media, because the first thing we did immediately, our prompt reaction was the document we sent us as our recent release condemning the act. I don't think whether you need any other thing more than this, but if you need the video of us condemning it lively, know that it is on process and everything needs procedures and just a matter of time.
Okay, I was just talking about the robust nature in which you condemned Comfort, but the robust nature in which you condemned Treasure, the robust nature in which you condemn others. Now, as far as this video has surfaced, which happens to be that of an alleged military atrocity, I especially have not seen you people condemning Mautu, because the same day that Comfort was killed, 24 hours later, plus 3 people were allegedly shot in Mautu. We saw videos, and yet the world is silent.
We have condemned all those acts that you are highlighting there, just that you have not yet seen them. I think that after the program, we will send all of them to you.
Okay, thank you. We'll be coming back to you, Mbakujut. Let's move to our second topic today, which is killers of Comfort. The confession of the killers of Comfort. So that we talk about this, because these are war crimes, because the Geneva Convention spelled it clear that as far as someone is unarmed, that person does not have an arm. Whether that person is a fighter or not a fighter, that person has a right to be protected, has a right to be judged, and has a right to live until he dies. The Bible says no one has a right to take the lives of another regardless of the circumstances. We've seen that of Comfort, not just Comfort. Maybe I give you a retrospect as to what has happened within the last 5 days in Cameroon, in northern southwest region. We had a teacher who was killed and dumped in Bamenda. We had a young girl, Treasure, who was killed, slaughtered in Bamenda. We had another young girl, a video of a young girl who was seen being slaughtered and someone piercing or knifing her stomach at the same time, allegedly from Bamenda. We've seen a video from Moyuka where Comfort now was killed. We've seen another video from Mautu where people were killed in Mautu by alleged military officials, according to how the commentator from the video was stating. We've seen a video of others being killed, especially in Moya, where a young man was killed fighting for the release of his brother who was arrested by military officials. As one thing led to the other, he was called up and was arrested. The family says he was arrested by the military, and at the end of the day, his body was discovered in a corner alongside 3 others. That's 4 dead bodies were discovered. We've seen all this happening around the globe. Let me come to you, Mbakujut. The Moyoka incident, let's be specific here. The guy who killed, say he killed, he's from IG, the same IG that is protecting the people, killing their own people.
You made mention of those murders. You didn't make mention of the one in Dop.
In Dop,
a councillor.
A councillor who was killed in Dop.
Who was actually beheaded. Now we have people, the army who use guns. Army uses gun most often to kill, and the separatists today use machetes to kill. So we are in a tight corner. But I always ask myself the question: if I were to die by a gun or by being slaughtered, preferably many of you accept that you prefer to be shot by a gun than to be slaughtered. That said, we have these cases, and you're asking people to condemn. Jervis, I'm one of those who think that we have gone past the level of condemnation. We have gone past the level of sending out press releases, be it from Rene Emmanuel Sadi's office, be it from the camp of the separatists who sent in releases claiming that they are not in support of murders which are being perpetrated by their own fighters. We have gone past the level of political parties using the condemnation, the whole condemnation thing now as a political warfare, as a means to show political prowess. We have gone past this level of civil societies using condemnations, letters of condemnations. We have gone past the level of condemnations. What we need to do, because actually we have close to 3,000 cases of persons who have perished so far, as far as this crisis in the northwest and the southwest regions is concerned. We cannot go and be condemning one case from one case to another, because these cases, if we're to condemn one case, there are many of these cases that we have not even seen.
Baku, I don't want to focus more now on this condemnation. Let's come to the confession. The person who killed Comfort, Charger, because there was a video, a release by Cry Out, that where the person say, na me kill him. And the person was saying that, na black leg. I think subsequent edition will play the excerpt that they asked, why did you kill? He said, na black leg.
You know, with the struggle today, Jervis, let me not call it the struggle.
And the person said, and I quote, when I ask our leaders, our IG, and me I be man for fight, me I be shooter. When I ask IG, because na me kill him, na we.
Yes.
And the IG is led by Sako, and the same people came and said from the beginning that it was not done by their group.
That is one of the things that is, I'm saying that at the level of this this whole mix-up, the separatist camp hardly takes responsibility. We are in a warfare. I know I've seen groups like Al-Shabaab taking responsibility for their mothers. I've seen groups like the Boko Haram taking responsibility that we've killed this person. I've seen groups like even the ISIS, they kill and they accept that they are the ones who have done this evil. But what's happening with us in the northwest and the southwest with the separatist guys is, even with the military, there's a system now which they use. People commit crimes and attach on others and then expect to win sympathy. That is what is happening. So both camps are using this strategy, which is very dangerous and very hard now to decipher who is the main evil person here. But now, that notwithstanding, we've had situations which are glaring that the separatist fighters are committing it. They are refusing. This guy who is even saying that he is the one in charge, and you are seeing in a video, don't be surprised tomorrow the same separatist leaders or the same guy will refuse to claim. They'll refuse responsibility. They'll claim that it is a cooked up audio.
But how do you go for? How do you explain this? That you get a young lady, because he said he has all evidence that the girl is a spy. But I have been in Moyuka. I spoke with the family. I spoke with the mother. I spoke with the sister. I spoke with the child. She left behind 2 children. Mm-hmm. And they said the lady is not a spy. I went to the lady's room, and the days ahead will release our investigation. I went to the lady's room, and they said the lady was not a spy, and that the lady was not dating the military.
Jeff, is the unfortunate thing with these people. I keep saying it's painful. Let them know where to cut the line between the people they are fighting against and the people who they're supposed to be protecting. They're supposed to be protecting their own civilians, their own people. They have succeeded in killing more black legs, so-called black legs, than even their own enemies, which they are fighting against. These people, these fighters on ground, who think that every other person who is against, even the guys in the diaspora, they have resorted to threat of human life and whatever. When you're against their ideologies, when you're against their modus operandi, they tag you a black leg. I cannot count how many times they have insulted our civil society actors. I cannot count how many times they have tagged people who are struggling to bring peace into this thing, that they are black legs. And each time, how will you want to understand the fact that a lady might have been, even if you are dating a military man, is that the best way to execute? Why don't you say you do arrest every camp of the separatists? You're supposed to even have something like a prison where you keep the people you call black legs or whatever. Those are simple orderliness, simple regulations that you have to put as far as war is concerned. So when you use a machete and you kill all your own people, the people you say you are fighting for, and trust me, that same Comfort, if she refuses to adhere to the military corps, the military man who they say she was dating, maybe if she had refused not to go to that barrack or to even listen to what the military guy is telling her, she will also become an amber sympathizer and will be executed. That is what is happening with these guys, thereby keeping ordinary civilians in a fix where you either are accepting the evil of one camp or the other, or you are camped and executed. These amber guys, the amber guys on ground have to understand one thing, that no matter how much you kill these people, no matter how much you kill, the people you think that you are protecting. It took a long time for the Anglophone community to rise up against the marginalization. It would take no time as well for that same community to rise up against the evil that are perpetrated on their own people. And they'll start handing these people one. You cannot be fighting for the people and killing them.
Okay.
So they'll prefer now to go back to the water
Briefly,
than go into the fire. Time is soon.
yeah, going back to the word of late Fon and Chirimbi, who said French Cameroon is fire, while Nigeria is water,
Yeah.
and that if you go to fire, it will consume you, and if you go to water, you may likely drown. And in one of the speeches which was said, it would be unwise to follow the abandoned and unsecured vessel, which do not give us free landing right at the horizon, than to follow the secured and floated vessel, which gives us free landing right at the horizon. At that point in time, it was talking the same about reunification and with the French Cameroon, and we are witnessing the same turbulence today, and that has been captioned the Anglophone struggle, which is now a struggling struggle against civilians who are caught in the web. Alex Ngepi, I come back to you. We've seen these situations of people being killed on regular basis. This guy whom we are talking about, General Charger, he said he killed this lady because the person who interviewed him on phone said, your guys are killed. He said, no, it's not my guy, not me. The person said, na me kill him. That he's a spy, she's a spy. I mean, you are a political, you are from CRM party. When you listen to things like this and you see that the war has been ongoing, where do we go from here? Where the same people whom we are protecting, we are killing in Mautu. Alleged, the Mautu people say the military killed more than 4 people.
Bon, il faut déjà dire que ce général qui admet avoir tué, c'est normal. Hein? C'est qu'il assume la responsabilité politique de l'acte parce qu'il est le commanditeur. Hein? Il a demandé qu'on tue et ces gars ont tué. Donc il est responsable. Et voilà pourquoi est-ce que nous, MRC aussi, on s'évertue d'établir aussi la même responsabilité politique vis-à-vis de l'autre gouvernant. C'est-à-dire ces militaires qui vont commettre aussi des crimes en zone anglophone, que ceux qui les envoient aussi puissent être responsables. Qu'on ne va pas dire c'est seulement les militaires ou la troupe, ceux qui les commandent qui sont... Non, qu'on remonte là plus haut. Parce que c'est ça en fait le principe, c'est que les militaires ne se retrouvent pas par hasard. Aussi qu'on sait l'ambazonien, l'ambaboys, ne se retrouvent pas non plus par hasard. Il faut bien qu'il y ait des financements quelque part. Ceux qui ont financé sont responsables. L'armée aussi, quand ils vont aussi quelque part, il faut aussi qu'il y ait aussi des financements, c'est-à-dire que ceux qui donnent l'ordre d'y aller sont responsables. Voilà en fait, quand on va commencer à admettre les responsabilités, ne pas seulement dire non, l'armée républicaine, non. Aucune armée n'a le droit de tuer. Encore moins ces populations. L'armée est là pour défendre ces populations. Lorsqu'une armée tue un seul Camerounais, il y a problème. On va dire l'armée, ils vont dire non, on salit l'armée. On ne salit pas l'armée. Parce que ces personnes qui tuent là, ils ont l'armée camerounaise sur eux. Donc c'est l'armée. Parce qu'on veut nous faire comprendre que quand un crime est commis par un militaire, tout de suite, c'est pas l'armée. C'est le militaire qui a commis le crime, l'individu. Mais lorsque ce militaire va sauver des vies, tout de suite c'est l'armée. Vous voyez ce déni-là, cette moralité, cette mauvaise moralité qu'on instaure au peuple camerounais. Je pense déjà que si on commence déjà à admettre des responsabilités, ce serait une bonne chose. Tout à l'heure, j'ai parlé de massacre civilisé.
But the guy who did that has accepted. But the leaders who are commanding these guys, that is Sako IG,
Et les VO, ça
they are refusing that.
Les VO,
They are refusing. They are in the United States, but those guys says they are the Sako IG that's funding them, and that they take order from the Sako IG that any information they want to get concerning the killing of that lady, they should ask Sako IG because they are fighters. They are not there to too much of the talking.
J'arrive pour vous faire comprendre. Monsieur Sako qui vit aux États-Unis, c'est un crime qui a ému le monde entier. Donc il est clair que s'il reconnaît de manière directe sa responsabilité, il sera mis aux arrêts. Il sera mis aux arrêts. Donc, il ne veut pas être mis aux arrêts. Il veut continuer à mener ses actions. Vous comprenez? Donc, l'autre qui admet la responsabilité est introuvable. Il est au nozo. Pour le prendre, il faut une intervention armée. Donc, vous comprenez que c'est ça la question. C'est-à-dire, l'autre qui refuse, on sait bien qu'il est responsable. Qu'il ait donné l'ordre ou pas. Le simple fait qu'il soit le leader, le simple fait qu'il finance, demande sa responsabilité. Et voilà donc les soins importants que les relations internationales puissent faire cela, hein, que le Cameroun devrait demander un mandat d'arrêt pour ce monsieur. Mais quand vous êtes un État, si vous voulez qu'on vous prenne au sérieux, commencez d'abord par avoir des lois et à appliquer vos lois et aussi à vous prendre au sérieux. C'est-à-dire que si déjà, au niveau du Cameroun, on avait déjà commencé par démettre certaines personnes, je m'a dit que le ministre de la Défense, c'est M. Biapol, pour la République, c'est lui qui est ministre de la Défense au Cameroun. Donc, si on avait commencé par démettre les responsables politiques, ceux-là qui ont dit la crise anglophone, il n'y avait pas de crise et qu'on sort, par déjà à mettre sur pied leurs responsabilités politiques et pénales, et que ces personnes étaient mises aux arrêts, vous comprendrez avec moi que le Cameroun, en demandant ces qu'on mette aux arrêts, M. Sarkozy aux États-Unis, les Américains auraient obtempéré. Il n'y a pas de 2 poids 2 mesures. Donc ceux qui sont en train de refuser de faire au Cameroun, pour leur responsabilité civile, ils veulent que les Américains le font pour les Amazoniens. Ce n'est pas possible. Ils auront beau venir dire, non, on supporte les Amazoniens, on ne supporte pas, on donne les faits. En tant qu'homme politique, nous disons les faits. Parce que nous sommes pour la paix. Et nous pensons que nous les avertissons. Et en même temps, on éduque. Je tiens à dire, le gouvernement camerounais a toujours mis sur pied 2 massacres. Qui sont une continuité du cadre de la colonisation. Et il m'a dit que la colonisation est une conquête d'un territoire permanent, avec installation d'un ordre administratif et civil. Et on penserait que le Cameroun sont tous colonisés. C'est-à-dire, au lieu qu'on ait des citoyens, nous avons plutôt des sujets, des asservis. C'est pour dire quoi? Dans l'esprit de la colonisation qui s'est déléguée au gouvernement camerounais jusqu'à l'ordre actuel, avec un régime pro-colonial, pro-français, qui est installé à Yaoundé, on veut toujours faire croire qu'il y a 2 massacres. C'est-à-dire, le massacre civilisé, dans lequel on tue avec Kalachnikov. Donc, quand l'armée va là-bas, et va brûler tout un village, avec les Kalachnikov, on va dire que c'est civilisé, ils sont morts normalement, ils shootent là, ça passe, la mort est rapide, il n'y a pas de douleur, ça c'est civilisé. Le massacre sauvage qui avait les machettes. Vous comprenez un peu, c'est-à-dire on veut faire croire aux Camerounais que quand c'est tuer la machette, c'est un crime crapuleux. Mais il faut aussi dire ceux comme dans leur ordre d'idée, c'est que le massacre civilisé.
Alex,
permettez-moi s'il vous plaît, c'est important ce que je dis. Le massacre civilisé, ça veut dire des armes, n'est-ce pas? Et l'ONU est contre ce massacre civilisé parce que on peut envoyer quelqu'un avec une arme qui peut tuer 10 000 personnes, un seul soldat. Alex, vous comprenez un peu. Donc c'est donc dire que nous qui sommes contre la guerre, nous disons qu'on soit dans l'option massacre civilisé, qui se veut être acceptable par les populations, plus ou moins, ou le massacre sauvage, tout ça sont des massacres. Et nous disons, on ne devrait pas être là. Que ce soit les tueries par la machette, ou les tueries par les armes. Voilà notre problème, notre position.
Let me get this briefly, so that we'll get to true waters. Very briefly, let me ask you this. We've seen, this is a situation, this is the first time we are getting first-hand information from the perpetrators of an act of brutality, attesting that they carry out an act against the same people they are protecting. Now, we've not seen the kind of confession from the same side of government has really carried out this. We understand that the government always does that. But we've not seen people calling out the same leaders of the IG in question to say that, okay, your guys have attested the fact, so this is what you need to do.
James, let me just answer that question quickly. I think the issue with that is people are fed up with the IG, with their numerous crimes, because that IG, you're making the separatists as a whole, they have given their endorsement to the ground forces that anyone whom you suspect to be dealing with your enemy, tag that person a black leg. I'm talking about many of these guys I know that they come out publicly, do live shows and videos to call on their fighters to slow down. I don't know if we are actually in the 21st century, and people have in the diaspora have such stone age mindset that you go on public media, you ask people to arrest or kidnap those you suspect. Most of those people are suspects. You suspect, you tag them black. It become a common term, black legs.
Maybe as you speak now, they are tagging us black legs.
Black legs. And when they see you now, they execute you without even listening to your side of the story. So people are fed up. If you think that you might be waiting for people to call onto Sarko and the others, there are many of these people who will endorse them from their camps because they see now those who are against the ideas as black legs and they are condemning them. So it's really a challenge.
Alex.
Oui, il faut dire, déjà que sur cela, hein, on n'a pas une remontée populaire, ça n'émeut pas le cas de l'armée, hein, et que monsieur, qu'il y a des gens qui ont reconnu avoir commis ce crime-là. Il faudrait dire que c'est un problème de communication d'abord de un, parce que je vous ai dit que le massacre sauvage, ça émeut toujours, parce qu'on voit on tue l'homme comme du bétail, comme de la chair, forcément, ça fait tout le corps bouge, vous comprenez. Mais ce qui est aussi important de noter, c'est quoi? C'est qu'aujourd'hui, dans la zone anglophone, hein, il y a comme une suspicion, c'est-à-dire les civils, le rapport entre les civils et les ambazoniens. C'est-à-dire si un civil est proche des ambazoniens, il peut être pourchassé par l'armée camerounaise de terroristes, de manière abusive. C'est-à-dire que sans aucune preuve, parce qu'on va vous voir un ambazonien que de vous dire un ou deux mots, on vous poursuit. Un ambazonien vous appelle au téléphone, on vous arrête. C'est ça, ce sont des abus. Ce sont des choses intolérables. Au même titre aussi pour les ambazoniens. C'est-à-dire que vous êtes proche des militaires, ou même une fille qui se fait courtiser par un militaire, même si elle a dit non, et qu'un ambazonien l'a vu, quand on lui dit mademoiselle bonjour, elle a dit non, elle ne répond pas, tout de suite elle devient un peu les ambazoniens. Donc c'est un peu ça. Donc aujourd'hui, nous sommes dans une situation où chaque personne doit choisir son camp quand vous êtes dans nos eaux. Ou vous êtes avec l'armée, ou vous êtes avec les ambazoniens. Vous êtes avec l'armée, les ambazoniens vont vous zigouiller à la machette. Vous êtes avec les ambazoniens, l'armée va vous tirer au sol, va vous donner un pistolet.
Even when you are neutral,
non, c'est ça.
Even when you are neutral, sometimes
c'est ça. Non, c'est pour dire que c'est pas comme c'est une sale guerre. C'est
so
une guerre d'abord endogène.
where do we go from here?
On y va parce qu'elle ne fait que perdurer, parce qu'il n'y a pas de solution, parce qu'il y a des manipulations, parce qu'on vous dit non, on a résolu, on n'a pas de reconstruction.
Yeah, party, where do we go from here to make this thing better?
Non, pour le faire mieux, pour résoudre cette crise-là, dont je vous dis, hein, il faut véritablement que les francophones et les anglophones discutent à part égale. Qu'on ne dise pas, on va faire une conférence, 100 francophones, 10 anglophones, et qu'on va faire une résolution, un vote, où il y a des anglophones auront déjà 100 voix, les anglophones auraient 10 voix. Non, non. Il faudrait que le peuple francophone et s'asseye, ils discutent à part égale et qu'on trouve un consensus.
Okay.
Et qu'on fasse miette là depuis la base, que les peuples francophones arrêtent de croire qu'ils ont la science infuse, que c'est vers eux que viendraient les solutions de cette crise-là. Okay. On doit comprendre qu'on a aussi une culture anglophone, qu'on a des lois, la common law qui existe, et qu'on doit véritablement tenir compte de cette culture-là. Je vais vous dire un cas très simple. Vous me permettez? Juste une seconde, pour vous dire que dans le cadre du Cameroun, hein, allez-y un peu au Conseil supérieur de la magistrature, n'est-ce pas? Les lois sont taillées par rapport aux francophones. Est-ce que vous avez vu dedans, le président est francophone, le vice-président est francophone. Pourtant, la loi dit qu'on peut nommer un vice-président qui n'est autre que ministre de l'AT. Pourquoi est-ce qu'on peut nommer un anglophone comme un peu Aya comme vice-président? Enfin que, parce qu'il faut des gens que, là on parle de justice, hein, tout ça c'est un problème de justice. Parce que la justice est la chose la mieux partagée, la mieux cherchée par la population. C'est pour donc dire quoi? Que ici la common law, dans le cas de justice, c'est même pas de parler anglais ou de plaider en anglais dans les tribunaux. Non. La common law, c'est un état d'esprit judiciaire que les francophones n'ont pas, même si c'est pas l'anglais. Donc, il faudrait véritablement pencher des solutions en égalant les deux cultures.
Waters, are you there?
Yes, I'm there.
Sorry that we've kept you for long. I'm struggling to get back to you too. Waters, we've seen this killing of Comfort, this tequila confessing that he is a member of the IG, fighter under the IG, and that he carried out this attack because the lady is a black leg. This is the same IG that says they want to protect the same population. Now giving orders that the same population be killed on the pretext of black leg. Are there no other ways that black legs can be treated without being killed or buried alive? These are just few cases we've seen. It shows that there are thousands of hundreds of numerous cases that that have not been seen, and that keep occurring on a daily basis.
Well, when you tell me that are there no other ways that black legs can be treated normally, it's as if I'm becoming what they always call in French l'avocat du diable. I don't know which are the formalities to take down the names of black legs. Who is qualified to be a black leg? Do they have proof that this is a black leg? Before to answer a question directly, please, permit me say something to what Alex. I'm not okay with what Alex has just said.
Yes.
Mon cher ami Alex, ce n'est pas d'aller arrêter tous les leaders séparatistes à l'étranger que la crise anglophone sera résolue. Si le gouvernement veut qu'il arrête tous ceux qui sont impliqués dans la crise anglophone à l'étranger, mais la crise ne s'arrêtera jamais. Tout est dans la méthode. Donc c'est un problème de méthode, ce n'est pas un problème d'aller arrêter les leaders séparatistes à l'étranger que la crise finira. Quand on avait arrêté le Naira One au Nigeria avec Sissoko Ayuk, Eko, Mancho Bibisi Abamenda et autres, jusqu'à aujourd'hui, la crise a fini, la crise n'a pas fini. Donc ce n'est pas l'interpellation des leaders séparatistes que la crise va finir. Il faut poser plutôt les problèmes du fond. So let me come back to a question, Mr. Journalist. Well, let's say that Black Leg, I have once been telling the media that the Popular Action Party is the only party that has access to ground zero at any time. We have our militants and we have daily reports. We have worked in those two zones, and Black Legs are people who transmit information between the military and the ambas, whether on the amber side or on the military side. And in each amber camp, there is a list of names of Black Legs that they take down, and they have intelligence service on the ground, and the military equally have their own intelligence service on the ground. So when they turn to Black Legs, know that they are not lying, because their intelligence service has already given them the information about you, and there is nothing that you can hide. There is nothing that you can say there is a lie.
How do you explain? How do you explain a situation where within 5 hours, not 5 hours, within 30 minutes, a lady is caught, a lady is interrogated, a lady is killed without getting full version of her story? How do you explain a situation where within, as we are talking right now, some of us are being branded on social media as Black Leg? How do you explain a situation where you disagree with them on policies like that of Agobala, who was the head of the regional consortium when he started, and because he chooses to go by a two-state by federation, he's termed a Black Leg? Does it mean that their intelligence is quantifying every actions that you disagree with someone Black Leg?
Now we go down now to the different categories of Black Legs. There are different forms of Black Legs in Ground Zero.
They are facing the same punishment. The same punishment. Killed. They have been killed.
It depends on the affiliation. It depends on how you are affiliated on Ground Zero. How, if you are an elite from Ground Zero, if you are somebody that is not well known in Ground Zero, the treatment will be different. I deserve that treatment because she was a woman, and because since she was a woman, the intelligence service has already given the information that her case was so dangerous in such a way that she could merit that treatment. But we condemn the act. But those are the categories of Black Leg. Everybody, not. Let me tell you the truth, please. We should not be mixing what in the northwest and the southwest on Ground Zero. Once you are against the struggle, the Anglophone struggle, once you go up, you are a Black Leg, and you need to be tracked down and killed.
But Mr. Waters, let me ask you this question. Is it normal that the Anglophone culture gives room for debate? The Anglophone culture gives room for argument, not the force of argument, the argument of force, but it gives room for democracy, where you decide that, okay, I don't like your idea, I'll go by my idea. There are people in Cameroon Anglophones who are for effective decentralization. There are people who are for a federation like your party. There are people who are for confederation, and there are people who are for total outright restoration. And you will not dispute the fact, because these people don't want outright separation, they're automatically Black Leg. There are people, and they face death punishment. Is that supposed to be the case? There are people whose father or senior brothers or aunties or nephews or relations are working with Cameroon's military. It is no fault of theirs that they are working under Cameroon military, and we have seen cases where these same people are being caught, killed. Does it mean that the Anglophone culture is being desecrated in terms of bringing in a culture that is supposedly Anglophone culture, which is not the case?
Please, you are mixing so many things. We should not mix the consequences of the Anglophone crisis with the cause of the Anglophone crisis.
The crisis is because they want to protect the culture, but they are going against the same culture.
They want to protect the culture, but they are fighting for the restoration of their former British Southern Cameroon. Before now, their culture can be respected. It's because of fighting to get the culture that the consequences of treating black leg is as such. I watched an interview yesterday on France 24 where the father of a victim in Syria with the father of a separatist were both interviewed, and the results were the same. That those, whenever a crisis as such happen, the separatist groups will carry out their operations as per their laws, and the enemy will also embark on their own as per their own national laws, but the consequences will be disastrous, and those are the outcome results of the victims which are black leg. But let me say this: when you talk about the culture, we moved from the Enugu House of Assembly to West House of the Assembly and to the National House of Assembly. We have seen indirect role during the former British Southern Cameroon territory.
1982 is still by Lord Luga.
That is the culture. We know effective decentralization cannot go in a unitary state, my dear brother. Federation or federated state is the best form of implementing the Anglophone culture that it should work. We are going back to 1961, where 60% voted for federation and 40% voted for separation. Or Anglophone conference of 1, 2, and 3. Kadena document of 400 pages sent to the presidency. Everything is there, documented. What do you want me to say again?
So it therefore means that because you as an Anglophone, you are not supposed to disagree with the outright separation, because you yourself it automatically means that you are a black leg.
Yeah.
Because your party is standing for a federation. It means that you can be killed. Is that supposed to be like that?
Listen, let me clarify. Let me clear the air. We have done a series of interviews, and we have a database where 90% of all Anglophones interrogated in the Northwest and the Southwest are for federation, while 70% are for secession because of the bad faith of the government.
I'm not refusing. I'm just asking that it means that you are a potential target because you are a black leg. Because if I go by the definition you had earlier given about black leg, it means that those who are outright independent see people like you in Yaoundé as black leg because you are for federation.
No. There are people on ground zero that are federalists, and there are people on ground zero that are separatists. So, being by the fact that I'm a federalist does not mean that I'm a black leg, because I am for the Anglophone struggle, not against the Anglophone struggle.
Thank you very much, Waters. Summarily, you will react to that on your concluding statement.
Oui.
You react briefly, 30 seconds.
Oui, je veux dire à monsieur tout à l'heure que je n'ai pas demandé qu'on arrête forcément ceux qui sont du côté de l'extérieur. J'ai réitéré que l'État du Cameroun qui veut qu'on arrête ceux qui sont à l'extérieur, ceux qui sont responsables politiques, devrait d'abord commencer par assumer sa propre responsabilité politique à l'interne. C'est-à-dire quoi? Si déjà l'État du Cameroun peut mettre aux arrêts ceux-là qui ont demandé, qui ont dit que la crise n'était rien mieux de sang à venir, c'est dans ce cas-là que s'ils le faisaient, qu'il faudrait demander aussi d'arrêter aussi ceux qui sont aux États-Unis et qui doivent réciprocité. Mais s'ils ne le demandent pas et qu'ils veulent qu'on arrête ceux qui sont aux États-Unis, c'est pas possible parce que les Américains ne vont jamais pour faire cela.
Thank you. Baku Jude, you listen to what Mr. Waters said. I don't know if Mr. Waters understood what he said earlier on about black leg, because
Mr. Waters himself is a black leg.
Yeah, because he said based on the prescription that people who are for federation, the separatists see that as black leg. People who are for this, it means that we all are black leg at the end of the day, and must it be the case?
Yes.
And again, you're a peace journalist. The crisis started because Anglophones said they want to protect the culture, the bicultural and bigurian nature of the former British Southern Cameroon. And today we are against the bicultural and bigurian nature in terms of respecting of elders. If an elder disagree with you, you see how they're insulting power on a daily basis. You see that they're insulting people on a daily basis. Children are putting their parents, beating them up because they are for federation.
That's why I say the idealistic, the radicalization of ideas has bedeviled the Anglophone, the genuine Anglophone struggle has been hijacked by idealistic radicalization. The people in the diaspora, they have coaxed the minds of the fighters. They are fighters on ground. Now they look at everybody who has a contrary idea to be against them, which is supposed not to be the case. In a sane society, they are in the diaspora, they have lived in a developed society, and they know that variety of ideas. How can you really defend the fact that somebody like Bala Agbokongo, will be termed black legs. And every other moment they call him a black leg because he's for Federation. Monzu, Cardinal Tumi, and the best, John Frunzi, the best of our Anglophone politicians and elites who have stood for us over the years, just because they are not endorsing your killings. So this is what I when you say, you see these guys working under people like Sako, they have a mindset which is retrospective. It's not going back. They have been taught and programmed like robots. We are going to Boya. We have a trip that we are going to Boya. No turning back. Don't listen to any idea, be it from an intellectual, be it from whoever. That is why everybody to them seemingly has legs that are black and must be executed.
And the original cause is falling.
It has fallen. Somebody was giving, I'm sure it's Mr. Chu giving statistics of 70% or 90%, blah, blah. Those statistics, as days go on, the minds of the people change. People see how their own is treating them, and they begin to change their view on how they used to see you as an Anglophone liberator. They don't see you again from that perspective because of the torture you're meting on them. The best, Jervis, the best of these fighters, the best of those who said they were liberating Anglophones have been killed by their own. The best of the generals they say they have. It is them, in-house fighting, that have killed themselves. I remember about 22 young guys who were selected from, Ayabacho's camp, going to kill those in Bui. Got to Bui, they were rather caught and executed. It has been happening like that. In the Northwest, I cannot count how many of the so-called generals have been buried alive by their own. So, Black Leg is not only you and I who are advocating simply for a process. Black Legs equally are those who are against the idea of one camp or the other.
Okay.
They just attack you and execute. And that's why, just to end, that's why I go back to say, in as much as we fight and we say we are in a war, there are rules of war, and those rules are guided by international principles which everyone must follow if you want to engage into war. Then they read international laws, because Cameroon is a signatory to the 1949 Geneva Convention, which they must go back and read that document.
Thank you, Mbaku Jude. Thank you, Waters, for coming. Waters, we lost Waters, and thank you, Alex, for coming.
Oui, merci et pour cette belle émission. Juste à dire quelque chose qui nous tient encore, MRC, c'est l'abus donc a été victime. A été victime notre porte-parole du président Bibounissa, qui, Dieu merci, s'est marié avec le professeur Kamto comme témoin à son mariage. Il faut juste dire aux Camerounais que le mariage est un problème de droit privé et que l'État ne s'ingère pas. Au contraire, l'État n'a pas intérêt qu'on ne se marie pas. L'État est là pour promouvoir les mariages. Car les mariages sont là camerounaise est le socle de la famille. Et même quand une personne veut faire opposition à un mariage, ce n'est pas administration, hein, ce prophète de le faire, notamment Mahamat, le prophète de droit deuxième, mais c'est plutôt à ceux qui ont intérêt de le faire. La loi encadre cela par un juge ou le procureur. C'est eux qui peuvent empêcher. Merci.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, thank you very much. It was a pleasure, great pleasure, being on the program House of Common.
Thank you very much. Of course, Baku Jude Baku, thanks for coming.
Thank you very much. We hope that the people out there will take what we are saying here with some good faith and let there be some little change as we have sacrificed to be here to talk these issues.
The Anglophone culture gives room for peace. The Anglophone culture gives room for mutual respect. The Anglophone culture gives room for diversity of opinion. The Anglophone culture gives room for democracy. The Anglophone culture gives room for intellectual debate. The Anglophone culture gives room for the respect of our elders. The Anglophone culture gives room for the respect of human rights, democracy, and freedom. It is on those foundations that the Anglophones initiated the peaceful riot in 2017 and metamorphosed now in 2020 in a full-blown armed conflict. And today we are seeing the diversity of the culture being killed. People are instead fighting to kill the same culture. That was why I said when I started this program that until the lion produces its own historian, the story of the hunt will always be told to glorify the hunter. We were told that these were ills of the bias-led government, and we are now seeing our own historians telling us a story from a different perspective, with brutality, cruelty, intimidation, backbiting, and labeling us black leg. How long shall this continue as a common man keep wallowing within the devil and the deep blue sea as people die on a daily basis? It is time for those of you fighting to know that the common man must be protected, whether you are a military or you are a no-state armed group. If you see anyone suspected of those activities, you have the right to give that person freedom, and that person deserves the right. No one has a right to take the life of another as appointed by God, the creator of mankind. It is with that I end today's edition of our program to give you a rendezvous next Sunday at exactly 12. Until we meet again, no matter the matter, what matter is your matter. And what should matter for you today is that give peace a chance.